Go in there, fall in love with yourself, figure out who you are from the inside out, and keep pushing. Because, in our life, we talk about it. Someone says, well, when I hit 2 years, they were like, well, now that you're recovered, I'm like, oh, no, no, no. This isn't a recovered thing. This is a living thing.
Our soul knows
Oh,
that we
God.
we can go, but it gets stuck. So, around the spiritual wellness, this is a huge part of it is really understanding our boundaries and, what we can achieve and maybe what we're not quite ready.
This is a you versus you thing. It has nothing to do with anyone else. And if you can separate yourself from that and focus on who you are, you've got half of it in the bag.
How does your story empower your life? Join me as I speak to many people around the globe and understand how the empowerment of their story led to the transformation of their life. My name is Rochelle Harlington, and this is the Transformational Soul Talks. This podcast is sponsored by Campground TBD.
Hi, I'm Misty Lee at Campground TBD and my favorite nonprofit, Hayden's Ray. Sometimes we need to fast from society, fast from our relationships, fast from our distractions, fast from the things that are clouding our mind from clarity that may be causing frustration or doubt. Fasting is a beautiful way to do that, and you don't have to give up food unless you want to. At Campground TBD, we offer a safe space in nature for you to come and fast from what you want to, be filled with organic nourishment, body, mind, and soul. Can't wait to see you here at campgroundtbd.com.
Hi, and welcome to the Transformational Soul Talks. I am Rochelle. Now, when we speak about spiritual wellness, what comes to mind? Perhaps protecting your energy or placing boundaries around yourself? Well, we're going to dive into the understanding of your spiritual wellness. Now, my guest today is the owner and CEO of Sparkle LLC, the light at the end of the tunnel. She is a true beacon of inspiration, captivating audiences with her motivational keynote speeches that have touched hearts across the USA. Now, with a passionate mission to uplift, empower individuals from all walks of life, she has dedicated herself to encouraging others to embrace their true potential and stand tall in their uniqueness. Let us join her on her remarkable journey of a lifetime as she guides you through the intricate puzzle of life, helping you uncover your rightful place and your purpose. Prepare to be inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools to become the best version of yourself. Please welcome my wonderful guest, Sparkle Lindsay. Welcome.
Hey, Danielle, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad I got to have you on my show. I know we've been back and forth and we've kind of been talking over the last, I guess, year or so, but so I woke up one morning and I was like, I need to have Sparkle on because I know you have such an incredible transformational journey and I want to dive into a little bit of that and the spiritual wellness behind it and how it all began. So I know that's probably a lot to ask, but I will say this that we've talked a little bit and you shared your journey, and it is very deep and there's a lot to it. So perhaps you could give us a little synopsis of kind of what you went through and how you got to the place you are now, where you're inspiring so many souls.
One thing is that the day that I thought of you and I had like a dream, and I was like, huh, Rochelle. And all of a sudden I heard from you. I was like, okay, divine timing. So it is, so it shall be done, right?
Wow.
That was the first thing I said. I need to reach back out there. And then we must have been on the same wavelength, which is just beautiful.
That's
Um, I would say, Rochelle, that my journey has been, I'm a woman in long-term recovery for 5 years, 11 months. I'm actually 2 weeks away from 6 years of recovery. And I am just, I would say, smitten by the journey I've had of transformation, a lot of ascension in there, a lot of uncomfortableness for sure, and still, which is just learning the gift of and embracing every bit of it. So, a lot of my journey started with coming from a family that we didn't have any drinking or drugging issues or nothing like that. I do have it in my DNA. I do have that in some of my outer family, but for the most part, I barely drank or anything because I did play sports and I also was an executive for three big box retailers. So for me, it wasn't really until autoimmunes hit me really hard. I
Mm.
was placed in a wheelchair for 6 to 8 months and told I'd never walk again during my college career. And then retaught myself to walk, played 2 years of college ball, and the rest is history. But a big portion of that, I realized later on in my life now that the pain management piece was killing me. The pain. I was drinking because of pain,
Mm.
trauma that I hadn't even worked through. I can say that now, before I just thought I was surviving and walking through all of this. And so my way to cope was to use drugs and alcohol. My drugs of choices were alcohol and cocaine. And for me, I felt like I could do whatever I needed to do to get things done. And it wasn't until, I had an employee who killed himself in front of me that set me up, set me backwards. And also, when I got called into the office, thought I was going to lose my job and was asked if I'd like to be promoted at 125K. And
Oh,
at that time, I was like, that's a real good way for me to sustain my addiction. I can use that money for that. And I just remember having those moments.
oh,
I having nightmares and stuff at that time from what had happened, a lot of PTSD. And I remember just sitting there and I put my head down. I looked up at my regional and I said, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to turn down the promotion. And
oh,
at that time,
wow.
I turned it down, the 125K. And that's when I started my journey of figuring out who I was and taking my life back. And I headed to treatment shortly after that. Um, then I didn't realize I didn't know who I was, and
Hmm.
that was when this journey of having to let everything go that I knew and all of the fixing I was doing of everybody else but me and
Hmm.
start to realize that it was really all about me is when all of this has transpired. Um, and so now here I am, almost 6 years later. I have my own company, Sparkle LLC, the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm the coach's coach. So I help a lot of recovery coaches and coaches in general um, walk alongside those that are battling addiction, mental health, all of the above, and
Hmm.
just helping people find their light from within and where they fit in their puzzle. So it's been such a journey, such a treat. And I have so much gratitude for all the people who have walked with me and
Hmm.
believed in me, even when I just needed them to hold me up and hold my bearings and get my bearings. And now as I'm starting to come out of this and just begin to start walking, I feel like it's just it drops me to my knees every time. Because the reflection hits my heart. You know what I mean?
Wow, that is a very powerful story and such a great story of transformation. I love what I do because to hear other people's transformation, to hear what they've gone through, how they've ended up on the other side, it just inspires me to share these amazing stories. Now, was there anybody along that journey that doubted you, that was not your biggest cheerleader? Because we all have those.
I would say probably so. I think that when we start talking about those that may have had control over me when I was using, they
Hmm.
didn't want that because now they don't get control.
Right.
I would also say that there were some who didn't believe that I was as sick as I thought. They thought that, she'll get through it, she'll be okay. So inside, I felt like I was yelling as loud as I could, Rochelle, in a room full of people, and no one was listening. Um,
Wow.
and I also had those that felt like there's just no way they didn't believe it, and for me, even, my family, I love my family to death, and they have really, really rallied with me through this journey. But even for
Hmm.
them, it was more of a shock, like there's no way my big sister or no way my daughter is going through this because of
Hmm.
of how well put I thought I had it, right? And it was a lot of masking that was going on
Yes.
with me. So when
Yeah.
I finally have come out and just been able to speak my heart and my mind and my soul, um, I just know that those that maybe were not rooting for me to do great, hopefully it changes their mind for them to do great in whatever they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But man, there was parts of me that felt like, am I going to be able to get through this? And I mean, it's the human experience. Second,
Hmm.
get ourselves when we're in the midst of trying to take our life back. It's just a regular feeling we all have. And then you don't want to think people don't want you to make it, but it's inevitable. There's always going to be somebody,
There
you know?
is. And sometimes I almost feel like that's that testing portion of
Oh,
it to see your resilience, you know?
well, and there's also those pieces. Like I was almost married. And my
Mhm.
ex-fiance was one who did not get sober yet. And I was trying to get sober, and he did not
Mm.
want me to leave to get treatment. So he gave me an ultimatum. And that ultimatum was, you stay here with me, but if you get sober, you can't come back.
Oh,
And
wow.
I pondered on that for a good 2 or 3 weeks. And I consistently kept drinking and doing all of that. And then one night, I got up, jumped in my car, got to my grandparents' house, and I said, I'm ready. And I never looked back. And there were many times that I thought I wanted to go back to that relationship. And every time that I would find myself going back, I knew I couldn't do it. It no
Mm.
longer served a purpose for me. And sooner or later, as we still are good friends, one thing I had to say was we all played a part in our relationship. What we played in that relationship, I said, but
Hmm.
I don't want to hinder you. I don't want you to hinder me. I want the best for you. I know you want the best for me, and us together, that ain't it. So it ended up working out okay, but
Good.
definitely had to shift out of that arena.
Yeah. And sometimes that's hard, you know, but it's the emotions that go behind it, and then our 3D reality, and then our soul knows
Oh
that
God.
we can go, but it gets stuck. So, you know, around the spiritual wellness, this is a huge part of it is really understanding our boundaries and, you know, what we can achieve and maybe what we're not quite ready, but in step, you know. Now, would you say for people listening who maybe are going through the exact same thing or something very similar, what would you say to them?
Oh, ah, I would say that everything starts with us. I would say that everything that you can do to self-reflect on the things you missed or the things you don't know about you, you
Hmm.
got to do. This is a you versus you thing. It has nothing to do with anyone else. And if you can separate yourself from that and focus on who you are, you've got half of it in the bag. Because a big portion to me was I wanted to find somebody else to point fingers or make this a we thing, not a me thing. And
Mm.
as soon as I started throwing the we thing out there and figuring out that my journey is my journey, theirs is theirs. But what I need to do with me is going to take some soul searching. It's going to take some time. These are the things I would say. Go in there, fall in love with yourself, figure out who you are from the inside out, and keep pushing. Because, in our life, we talk about it. Someone says, well, when I hit 2 years, they were like, well, now that you're recovered, I'm like, oh, no, no, no. This isn't a recovered thing. This is a living thing. And
Yes.
as long as we're living and as long as we're working with ourselves, we continue to evolve no matter what.
Mm.
Only when we stop that we've lost sight of the mission. And
Hmm.
I would say, don't lose sight of you. And it doesn't matter who's in the mix. Remember, people come into our lives like seasons. Some stay for a long time and some leave. But the only thing that doesn't leave is yourself. And if you know
Yes.
yourself enough, you can overcome anything.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think that's the big part of what, you know, as we're talking, I'm hearing is the spiritual wellness really starts within. And it's yes, putting those energetic boundaries up and being careful of what we give our energy to, but it's also about going within and starting with us first. Because,
Absolutely.
like you just said, and it's so powerful, it's not outside of yourself, it's within you. And as soon as you change, your reality changes, right?
Absolutely. And those secrets behind the secrets from within start to evolve from within you. So you start to unravel the secrets you never even knew you had, which in turn inspires your gifts to happen.
Mm,
The breakthroughs that we're having from within are what inspire that. And if we're not working to break through and take our time, and you don't got to rush it because you're going to be living with yourself for the rest of your life. You just slowly but surely pick and choose each layer and just really get to the end and to the meat of it and the meat and the potatoes and love yourself for every piece of it that you're working through, you know?
yeah, it is. The spiritual wellness within all of us is about us first. And
Yes.
then and everything else will follow. So
Follow.
tell us a little bit more about your company, Sparkle LLC. I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, so I started out like 5 years ago as a recovery coach. And then I just fell in love with being able to put the aspect of my HR background and everything else with the
Mhm.
aspect of having Sparkle LLC, the light at the end of the tunnel, my university for coaches. And so I train state certified courses across the nation, internationally. Obviously, I'm a motivational keynote speaker as well, who speaks on a lot of different topics, as you can as you can tell,
Yes.
as I've evolved into me, right? But the
Hmm.
most part is I call it a home away from home for every coach I've ever coached. There's 850 coaches I have in just 4 years. My business is 4.5 years old. And what I do is I help them get certified, help them get their resume stuff, coach placement. Some of them want to start their own businesses. And that's the place where we're at. We help coaches become great coaches.
Mm.
It wasn't always like that. Like at first I had my little website and I worked one-on-one and then I started realizing like the power of the peer coach is powerful. And
Hmm.
I am right smack dab in the middle of it. And I'm so excited to help inspire coaches to be where their feet are and find what works for them, but also meeting people where they're at, and then realizing too that they can't give away something that they do not have. So a lot
Mm.
of what Sparkle does helps with the mind, body, and spirit of coaches. But I have many people who are jumping into the business now that just want to help, but also they like just taking the curriculum and the courses and everything else to get to know themselves on a self-reflective level.
I love that because there is a big shift. And especially now, I think I was speaking with another lady, I think last week about it, that the collective is shifting. Everything's
Yes.
shifting because there's more awareness that it's not, as I said before, outside of yourself, it's
Yes.
within. So as you shift everything within, everything around you shifts. And there's wonderful people like yourself who are supporting the collective and humanity to try and shift themselves because they don't teach this in schools. They don't teach this anywhere. I mean, it was known at one time, but it's been slowly kind of like, I think over time, just kind of washed away so that you don't know, so that you don't realize how powerful you are.
And it's this. I mean, we're the creative, the divine, we're back.
Mm,
The creativity of all of us is back, divine timing. So the feminine. And for a long time, we lived in this world of the American dream. Well, the American dream is great for some, but we all have our own dreams. And it may not involve all of the American dream, the 9 to 5. It may not. It's very different now with the revamping of systems and changes going on. You can be who you want to be. And ultimately, the only thing that keeps us back from that is us, because we listen to what everybody else is telling us instead of what the voice inside of us is saying we need to do or how we should be. And so when
mm.
you start to take all that racket and throw it out, you realize the sky's the limit. Expand your mind to greater lengths and take it to the next level. And that next level, we don't even know, but that's okay. The point is to know that it's you that's going to create that. And when you build a platform and hold space for people to be the best versions because they have no type of stress, it is
Mhm.
it is wonderful.
Mm. And so what are your plans for 2025 and 2026? Where are you going? Where is Sparkle LLC heading?
Well, a lot of the classes that I have, I've added a lot of stuff. My trainings are not just a training, they're an experience. I've got a great tribe of people, especially in the spiritual realm, and some spiritual retreats as we get going. Obviously, on a lot of my LinkedIn's and everything else, I also have Heal with Energy, which is my father. He's quantum healer. So we've really brought that into the mix, dream interpreters, just a big place. So I'm really looking to build my university this year, 2025, 2026. I have The Legs to Your Table, my book. It's a series of workbooks that will be coming out throughout the
Mm.
year of curriculum for Sparkle. So I'm excited because I get to have those 850 coaches. I know you guys are out there listening, or you're going to be. They get to come on back and actually start doing some of my curriculum that I've written from my heart. And some things that just keep it basic, keep it simple, and a place where they can have a lot of fun and enjoy each other. So
Mm.
that's really what I'm at. And my full focus is like, when you're just sent for a mission, there's a mission for all of us. And I feel like right in it. And so it's like figuring out who I am and building all of this at the same time. And it's an incredible journey so far. And I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, I definitely. And I think a lot, like I said before, I think a lot of the collective consciousness is feeling that shift and feeling the
Yes.
change
Oh,
coming. And if someone's out there and they're listening today and they say, well, I can see things, or maybe I hear things at night, but I'm not sure. Is there something going on with me? Do I have mental health issues? Should I go see a doctor? Because a lot of people do. They keep it quiet. They're like, no, no, those voices in my head are not mine. They're someone else's. I'm not all right. Maybe I should go see a doctor. What would you say to them?
well, first things first. I mean, when we talk divine and we talk being spiritual, I mean, the first thing I would do is say, why don't we get together? Let's have a conversation, because
Hmm.
I want to actively listen to what those voices sound like. I want to see what their clairs might be. What type of gifts they might have. And at this point in time, I have no problems with speaking upon that because I know myself, those gifts I kept quiet for a long time, And then also, if you do need help, then let's help you get that support. The biggest piece
Hmm.
is that when people call, especially if they call me, I would say, what steps do you want to take next? And how can I support you with your development or your recovery today? And I think a lot of it is about them saying what they want and then us allowing them the space and the opportunity to make that happen. Um, but overall, I used to think, for a while when I would maybe hear things or I get certain messages and stuff like that, I used to think there was something wrong with me. Or if I felt someone else crying and I used to think there was something wrong. And it was when I was younger, no one could speak to that. But it's not like that anymore. There's many of us who embrace what we're feeling, especially as empaths, and we're able to maneuver and manage with how we're feeling now. So if anybody's feeling that way, please come have a conversation. That's all I ask.
Wow, that's great. I love that because there is a lot of people I think out there today that are unsure of where, and there's so much that's thrown at people, the spiritual understanding, there's this and there's that, and then people talk about extraterrestrials, and then people talk about this happening and that happening, and people are confused because 10 years ago this was not spoken about, and here we are 10 years later, and it's you see people when you talk about it, they're kind of doing the okay.
Yeah. Well, you also see people who are like, that's exactly what I'm feeling.
Yes, yes,
I need to talk to them. You know what I mean? Because
yes.
that means that they're feeling the same thing I'm feeling. So wait a minute, maybe I'm not alone. You know what I mean? Maybe it's the fact that some of us are able to see through a different lens, our lens. And
Hmm.
that right there is when you have like no chemical substance use, nothing there, and it's just you, it's so much more vivid and present than we can ever think of. So there's things that you may be ready to receive. So here they come. So
Mm.
It's really important that we allow people to feel themselves in their space and then
Hmm.
let us know what's actually happening. And I think a lot of it is more so we want to give this advice stuff, we want to do that. But really, they are the expert of their own lives. Anybody is. So are you, so am I. So if we're able
Hmm.
to hear people and they feel heard, we'll get to the bottom of what they really truly need, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. On that topic, though, would you say that fear is a big part of what puts people that they take that step back, or they're, no, I can't do it, or maybe I should? What are your thoughts on that?
You know, it's fear, faith over fear. People say it like it's like nothing. I'm like it's easy. That ain't easy. You know what I
No,
mean?
it's not. It's hard. Yes.
Even my thought process of like starting a business in the middle of like 2 years of recovery, right? That's even
Hmm.
most people are like, is she gonna be all right? Is this gonna be real? Like, what are we thinking? Even for myself, I'm like, am I well enough to even do this? Like that imposter syndrome, that feeling of fear. But normally, when it is fear, it's just
Hmm.
meaning that we have to take the step. But we always know the first step is the hardest step. And then
Oh,
we
yeah.
also have to help train ourselves to understand that mistakes are lessons and that we're going to make some mistakes. And we're gonna learn from those mistakes and that we're okay with it, whether it happens or not. But it's a practice and it takes time. I think those that are in fear, the biggest piece is always asking yourself, what are you actually in fear of? Most of us are in fear of it because we've actually never tried it. And so is
Yes.
it that me going to try it with you or somebody going to try it with you will be warranted? Absolutely. It's always good to have a hype man, you know? So I mean, at least if you're going to go do some bungee jumping, you got somebody who's with you, right? But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
process is asking, where is that coming from and what is it? You know, have you done it before and you have trauma from it? Or is it that you've never experienced it?
Mm.
Another thing I say about this is try your hardest to not allow fear to dictate who you are. Always remember that chaos is going to arise no matter what. But as the chaos arises, allow the dust to settle first, then figure out where you fit in that chaos that is now settled. I think a lot of us do this. It's a fear tactic, and you have people who try to even control us with fear.
Mm.
We have to be very realistic, be where our feet are, and realize, is this what I'm thinking? Have I even tried it? Or is this
Hmm.
somebody who's trying to get me to think that way? Although, does it even have to do with me? Is it someone else's fear? You know? So I say that when you are dealing with fear, always ask yourself some simple questions because you may be overthinking it more than it is, and then bring other people into the mix to help with it so that you're not
Mm.
alone making that decision. And even if you do, you know that if you do make the wrong decision, you got some people who got your back, you know?
I like that. And I think that all falls into kind of the same toolbox, with the spiritual wellness of understanding that fear is going to be in there.
Mhm.
Self-confidence is going to be there. Energetic boundaries are going to be in there. All of that has to go into there to feel where you are and to
Mhm.
feel well in who you are in yourself.
And your ability to, for me, I trust, it has taken a while for me to trust in the energy and to trust in the universe and my higher power, because
Hmm.
that's a relationship we have to have, right? So
Hmm.
I found a way to become one with that and just realize the universe is going to do what it needs to do for you. And
And it always has a better picture for
just
you
gotta
than you
let it,
can.
you gotta let it
Yeah.
ride, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. I think that now I like to ask this question now and then, but if you could have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who
Mhm.
would it be and why?
Okay, one would be Michael Jackson. I want to
Mm,
know how he came up with such creativity. Oh my gosh. If I could be in that person's head, I'll tell you, just the way, the showmanship, everything about it, like his creativity was just awesome. Another
okay.
one would be Whitney Houston. I liked her,
Okay.
especially, man, I always watch that video and I wonder, or watch her movie, and I'm like, man, I wish I could have been her recovery coach. Because I got
Mm-hmm.
to see how she was drowning, but nobody understood it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I would have
Mm-hmm.
loved to have a conversation with her. And then always, and forever, I will always want to have a conversation with Oprah Winfrey. Um,
Yeah.
I think that her success as a woman has been astonishing. And I think that watching her lifestyle and the things that she's done has been so impactful. And even taking what she's done into this era for 2025,
Mm-hmm.
I just seen it was cool. It's been cool to kind of watch her journey from I'm 40, but from age 38 and on, where
Mm-hmm.
she just went for it. You know what I mean? And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think these things are explained enough, but it would have been really cool to sit with her and like hear her say, now here, this is where it got real tricky, right? I was the only woman at the table and I wanted to create my own network, and they was looking at me like I was crazy. You know what I mean? Like I would
Yeah, 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 yeah.
talk to her for days, you know? So
Oh, wow. Love that.
sure.
That would be a very interesting dinner. I love that. I love that. So, if people are interested to work with you, where can they find you? On what platforms are you on?
So the platforms I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, X, Lemonade. I'm on all of the above under at Sparkle Lindsay. So you can find me anytime there. My website is sparklelindsay.com. So if you're really looking to schedule some time with me, get to know me, or just want to have a consultation, you can go right on there and just register. If you're interested in the courses, you can do the same thing. And then if you need to send me an email, I get a lot of emails from people as well, sparkle@sparklelindsay.com. And if it is a major emergency, or if it's not, please, you can call my number at the 719-297-1807. I answer calls as quick as I can. Everybody's emergency is not my emergency, but I do make sure I answer people's calls. If it is an emergency, don't forget the crisis helpline if you are going through something. But for the most part, if you just want to have a conversation or communicate, or you're trying to figure out where you need to go, please call me.
Hmm.
No problem at all. I'd love to have the convo.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to put all that information in the show notes so everybody knows how to find you. So I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing such beautiful wisdom and knowledge. As we wrap up, is there something you'd like to share? I always like to ask this with people listening or watching this, because this will be on YouTube. Um,
I
Whatever you
really,
like to share.
yeah, I really want to say, one of the biggest things I want to say is that just be careful what you say to yourself. You're listening. Um, Speaking with the power of our words through positivity is what helps us grow forward. And just remember, you came into this world by yourself. Probably gonna leave the world by yourself. And honestly, you probably want to get to know yourself. So
I love that.
with that being said, I just say reach for the stars. Don't let anybody tell you anything different except for yourself. And remember, why not you? Everybody
Mm,
else is out here doing it. Why not you? Okay, that's what I got.
I love that. I love that. That was amazing, Sparkle. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for coming on today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.